Hi, friends. Happy Thursday. I hope you're having a great day today. I've got two really great books to look at with us today. This first one is called Daniel Finds a Poem. This looks great. Oh, here's the opening pages. Daniel finds a poem. It says, Daniel knows all the rocks, trees, and animals in the park. On Monday morning, Daniel sees something new on the park gate. A sign reads, Poetry in the Park, Sunday at 6 o'clock. What is poetry, Daniel says? He looks up in surprise when he hears a spider say, ooh, what's the spider say? To me, poetry is when morning dew glistens. Oh, wow, that's cool. See all the dew glistening on that? The spider web? On Tuesday, Daniel climbs the old oak tree. He sees Squirrel. Squirrel, do you know what poetry is? Poetry is when crisp leaves crunch, Squirrel tells him. So there's Squirrel right there. On Wednesday, Daniel calls into Chipmunk's hole. Chipmunk, can you tell me what poetry is? Poetry, See them talking? And it says, poetry is a home with many windows in an old stone wall. Wow, isn't that cool? On Thursday, Daniel makes a boat with a leaf for a sail and watches the wind carry it across the pond. He calls quietly to Frog. Excuse me, Frog, what is poetry? Poetry, says Frog, is a cool pool to dive into. On Friday, Daniel parts the cattails and finds Turtle. Hello, Turtle. I have a question. Do you know what poetry is? I think poetry is a sun-warmed sand, Turtle says. On Saturday afternoon, Daniel finds Cricket in the shade of the slide. So there's Cricket right there, and Daniel. When the shadows are long, Cricket fills the air with music. Is this poetry to you, Cricket? Singing at twilight when the day is done. Indeed it is, Daniel. That night, moonlight fills Daniel's room. He hears a whoo. Leaning from his window, he calls to the owl. Owl, what is poetry? Oh, poetry. Poetry is bright stars in the branches, moonlight on the grass, and silent wings to take me wherever I go. Good night, dear Daniel, she whispers, and flies off into the night. On Sunday, the sun wakes up Daniel. He is happy when he remembers it's Sunday. Today is poetry in the park, says Daniel, and I have a poem. Okay, let's find out. Okay, here's his poem right here. It says, Morning dew glistens, crisp leaves crunch. There's a home with many windows in the old stone wall. Cool pools to dive in and sun-warmed sands to lie in, singing at twilight when the day is done, bright stars in the branches, moonlight on the grass, and silent wings to take me wherever I go. Oh, that's a great poem. On the way home, Daniel stops to watch the sunset sky reflecting in the pond. That looks like poetry to me. To me too, says Dragonfly. That was a great book, and it was called Daniel Finds a Poem. This other book I wanted to look at with you is called Miss Rumphius. This is a beautiful book too. The pictures are wonderful. The Lupine lady lives in a small house overlooking the sea. In between the rocks around her house grow blue and purple and rose-colored flowers. The Lupine lady is little and old, but she has not always been that way. I know, she is my grand-aunt, and she told me so. Once upon a time, when I was a little girl named Alice who lived in a city by the sea, from the front stoop she could see the wharves and the bristling masts of the tall ships. Many years ago, her grandfather had come to America on a large sailing ship. Wow, look at the pictures. Now, as he worked in the shop at the bottom of the house, making figureheads for the prows of ships and carving out wood to put in the front of stores, for Alice's grandfather was an artist. He painted pictures, too, of sailing ships and places across the sea. When he was very busy, Alice helped him put in the skies. So we see her right there, putting in the skies on the painting. In the evening, Alice sat on her grandfather's knee and listened to his stories of faraway places. When he had finished, Alice would say, "When I grow up, I too will go to faraway places. And when I grow old, I too will live beside the sea." "That is all very well, little Alice," said her grandfather, "but there is a third thing you must do." "What is that?" asked Alice. "You must do something to make the world more beautiful," said her grandfather. "All right," said Alice, but she did not know what that could be. In the meantime, Alice got up and washed her face and ate porridge for breakfast. She went to school and came home and did her homework, and pretty soon she was grown up. Then my great Aunt Alice set out to do the 3 things she had told her grandfather she was going to do. She left home and went to live in another city far away from the sea and the salt air. There she worked in a library. So we see her right here working in a library. Dusting books and keeping them from getting mixed up and helping people find the ones they wanted. Some of the books told her about faraway places. People called her Miss Rumphius now. That's her library right there. Sometimes she went to the conservatory in the middle of the park. When she stepped inside on a winter day, the warm, moist air wrapped itself around her, and the sweet smell of jasmine filled her nose. "This is almost like a tropical island," said Miss Rumphius, "but not quite." So there's the conservatory right there. And here's what it looks like inside. So Miss Rumphius went to real tropical islands where people kept cockatoos and monkeys. She walked on long beaches, picking up beautiful shells. One day she met the Bapa Raja, king of the fishing village. "You must be tired," he said. "Come into my house and rest." So Miss Rumphius went in and met the Bapa Raja's wife. The Bapa Raja himself fetched a green coconut and cut a slice off the top so that Miss Rumphius could drink the coconut water inside. Before she left, the Bapa Raja gave her a beautiful mother of pearl shell on which he painted a bird of paradise and the words, "You will always remain in my heart." "You will always remain in mine too," said Miss Rumphius. So that's her on the island traveling. My great aunt, Miss Alice Rumphius, climbed tall mountains where the snow never melted. She went through jungles and across deserts, and she saw lions playing and kangaroos jumping, and everywhere she made friends she would never forget. Finally, she came back to the land of the lotus eaters, and there, getting off a camel, she hurt her back. What a foolish thing to do, Miss Rumphius said. Well, I have certainly seen faraway places. Maybe it's time for my place by the sea. And it was, and she did. From the porch of her new house, Miss Rumphius watched the sun come up. She watched it across the heavens, sparkle on the water, and she saw it in the glory in the evening. She started a little garden among the rocks that surrounded her house, and she planted a few flower seeds in the stony ground. Miss Rumphius was almost perfectly happy. But there is still one more thing I have to do, she said. I have to do something to make this world more beautiful. But what? The world is already pretty nice, she thought, looking out the window. That's her house right there. The next spring, Miss Rumphius was not very well. Her back was bothering her again, and she had to stay in bed most of the time. The flowers she had planted the summer before had come up and bloomed in spite of the stony ground. She could see them from her front bedroom window, blues and purples and rose-colored. Lupines, said Miss Rumphius with satisfaction. I've always loved lupines the best. I wish I could plant more seeds this summer so that I could have still more flowers next year. But she was not able to do so. After a hard winter, spring came. Miss Rumphius was feeling much better. Now she could take walks again. One afternoon, she started to go up and over the hill, where she had not been in a long time. I don't believe my eyes, she cried when she got to the top, for there on the other side of the hill was a large patch of blue and purple and rose-colored lupines. It was the wind, she said as she knelt in delight. It was the wind that brought the seeds from my garden here, and the birds must have helped. Then Miss Rumphius had a wonderful idea. She hurried home and got out her seed catalogs. She sent off to the very best seed houses for 5 bushels of lupine seed. All that summer, Miss Rumphius, her pockets full of seed, wandered over fields and headlands sowing lupines. She scattered seeds along the highways and down the country lanes. She flung handfuls of them across the schoolhouse and the back of the church, and she tossed them into hollows and along stone walls. Her back didn't hurt anymore at all. Now some people called her that crazy old lady. So that's her right there. The next spring, there were lupines everywhere. Fields and hillsides were covered with blue and purple and rose-colored flowers. They bloomed along the highway and down the lanes. Bright patches lay around the schoolhouse and the back of the church, down in the hollows and along the stone walls. They grew beautiful flowers. Miss Rumphius had done the third, the most difficult thing of all. So, wow, look at the village there. My great aunt Alice Miss Rumphius is very old now. Her hair is very white. Every year there are more and more lupines. Now they call her the lupine lady. Sometimes my friends stand with me outside her gate, curious to see the old lady who planted the fields of lupines. When she invites us in, they come slowly. They think she is the oldest woman in the world. Often they tell us stories of faraway places. When I grow up, I tell her, I too will go to faraway places and come home to live by the sea. That is all very well, little Alice, says my aunt, but there is a third thing you must do. What is that, I ask. You must do something to make the world more beautiful. All right, I say. But I do not know yet what that can be. The end. That was a great book called Miss Rumphius. Wow, isn't that beautiful? Well, I hope you have a great rest of the day, and I'll see you again tomorrow. Bye, friends. See you later.